So in this unboxing, we'll have a decent amount of Plecos and some other cool stuff. So some special orders, that type of stuff. Let's see if I can get this open. So far, it's been pretty cold. 4 heat packs. Yeah, they're all warm. I mean, it's not going to be hot in there by any means, because those are pretty cool, but... so here we go. Pull this open here. There's 2 boxes to go through, so let's start with the first one. Alright, I like to pull the small bags first because they typically have more interesting things to me. But what's in here? Oh, I lied, it's guppies, which I'm still okay with. These are the ice flame guppies. Those will go into our assorted guppy bins once they get through quarantine. L46 should be a Zebra Pleco. Yeah. I'm waiting to get some of these. A lot of people want them after Christmas, so there should be 3 of those in there somewhere. Let's see if we can pull out some more. There's another L46. Looking pretty good. Bags are still cold if you can, because when you feel them, they're pretty cold. I mean, not like super duper cold, but that's why they're frosting up here, like once we take them out, because they're humid and it's warmer in my store than it is in this bag. So these would be Zebra Loaches. Going to take a look at them. And you guys requested kind of more in-depth on when fish come in, so I'm taking a little bit longer and showing you the process I'd actually be doing. So they're a little bit skinny, you can see there, in some of those loaches, so we're going to have to make sure we feed them quite a bit. That's not uncommon with most wholesale fish. But, it's examining, being that they're cold, it's very likely that zebra loaches get ick. Well, loaches in general, so for sure you got to be careful in quarantining them and make sure you're pretty much already treating with ick. Here we've got green lace guppies. These will be going in with our assorted as well. Next up, we've got Odessa barbs. These are wild caught Odessa barbs. They don't look like much in the bag because they're all stressed out, but colored up Odessa barbs look really nice. And so these guys are usually pretty hardy through shipping, so not a whole lot to worry about. They get the same meds either way, but over here we've got the red koi angels. These are high coverage reds. I think I ordered 18, so this is probably bag number 1 or 2 is my guess. If I put that back, we do have 2 bags. Yep. Alright. And then, we've got a couple more bags left on this box. What are these here? We've got, oh yeah, these are something I don't think I've had in store before myself. I've seen them in some stores, but these are Albino Congo Tetras. And so these were just kind of unique thing that I haven't kept before, and Congo Tetras in general don't sell very well in our area. Don't know why, but I thought maybe Congos and Albino would be cool enough for people to take a look at. If anything else, it brings attention. Whether they buy them or not, it's kind of like publicity. L128, a large. Let's see. Ooh, he is pretty large, isn't he? Let me see if I can get a better look at him there. Yeah, he's probably 6 solid inches. So yeah, he did come in big. Glad I only ordered 1. I thought he's gonna be pretty big. But if you look at him there, that's I don't know how big this bag is, but let's see if I can do like next to my hand comparison there. So I put my hand. I don't know if that's really working, but he's pretty solid and chunky for sure. That's pretty cool. We will get him into quarantine and such, but got to set the camera down, get the next box open up, and we'll go from there. So while I'm going to unpack this next box, we've got the fish that we just unpacked acclimating temperature-wise because they were colder. We want to start warming them up. You can see they're kind of sitting on the bottom here, not doing so well. They also want to get out of there too, but we like to warm them up first. And so you can see in different quarantine tanks here, we've got bags floating. We've got that big Pleco over there. And over here we've got the guppies. Now we do the guppies a little different, and this seems counterintuitive to most people, but because all these guppies end up going together, what we find is that if we keep them all separate and then we put them together, sometimes they cross-contaminate and get each other sick. So what we like to do is always kind of keep a colony of them going in this tank. And by colony, I mean we're not breeding them, but the fact that there's always males and females, so that if they were going to cross-contaminate, even though we order from the same sources all the time, but if one was going to get sick, it would get sick back here as opposed to out on the floor. And so we always have guppies in reserve. So this is some from the old batch, and then we've got new batch coming in, and we'll let those mingle for a week before we start bringing anything out and make sure that they're going to do well, because what's in here is some of last week's stock, and so we can just get that, you know, assurance that if they were going to bring a disease from one to another, it'll do it back here and we can treat it, as opposed to out on the sales floor where people are potentially buying them and taking those home, you know, right away. So box number 2, here we go. And I'm just tucked away here in the quarantine room because there's customers out there, and I've tried to shoot this video about 4 times now, and every time I start to shoot, people come in. So yeah, wow, that's what plant we got going on back there. It looks good. I think it's Pogostemus stellatus octopus. Really thrive under these stingray lights and quarantine tanks, no less. But anyway, let me get these open. Another 4 heat packs. And the reason you feel the heat packs is because if these were all ice cold, you would know that potentially these fish are going to be more sick. So they're all warm, that's a good sign. You know, not too much to worry about there. But if they were all cold, I would know, hey, maybe I should, you know, really keep an eye on these fish. And so the more information you can gather, the more you can know what you might be fighting against. So for instance, if they got extra cold, maybe I'm fighting ick or something like that. You know, whereas like this Pleco up here, I might be fighting bacterial infection, because typically where they're kept at a wholesaler, they're going to be kept in big groups, and so they'll be fighting a little bit, plus the water in there is pretty dirty just because it's hard to fast them enough before you ship them. So, I mean, we're going to treat for ick and bacterial infection and stuff like that anyway, but it's always good to know what you're looking for, what would be a likely problem, as opposed to, you know, not knowing at all what might happen. So, another small one. Another L46, another Zebra Pleco. We only brought in 3 today. They've been unavailable for a while, so I hadn't been able to order them for probably 6 weeks. And so I always want to test a new shipment before I start ordering 10, 20 at a time, because if they come in extra small or extra weak, there's so much money wrapped up into these that you don't want to have a catastrophic shipment go on. Plus, it's right after the holidays, and it's extra cold out, so there's, you know, it's kind of a perfect storm of shipping could be delayed, it could get too cold. What I'm doing right now is I'm actually looking at the belly of this fish to see how well it's been eating before I got it. So yeah, just 3 came in of those. What do we have next here? Some more guppies. These are the blue neon guppies, so 12 of those. And we're going to put these, start floating them right over here. And then, what do we have next here? Here we're going to have some German blue rams. Now these obviously like to be warmer, right? And they're pretty cold right now, so these are a very high risk fish when you're shipping it to get ick. That's typically the most common. When something gets cold, it tends to get ick. That's the most common disease from getting too cold. And so what we'll be doing is we'll be putting these in one of the higher up tanks, because the highest tanks in a room run the hottest. And we'll be keeping a close eye on them and keeping them very warm, and for sure watching them very closely for ick. And a lot of times our rams go through extra long quarantine just because of that reason. In this bag we've got just 25 assorted female guppies. I bet you we have another bag of these, I'm not quite sure, but we'll dump that in. And I guess I haven't shown you guys really, we've got lots of meds and stuff. That's what this is down here. You can see we've got, you know, these are hoses for water changing, but we've got erythromycin by the pound, general cure by the pound. We've got Icex there, that's Dimilin, that's flubendazole, that's bifurin, that's cupramine. You know, there's quite a bit. There's Ultimate there if we have stress coat or like slime coat issues. We'll use Ultimate to help with that. So if it looks like they've been ammonia burned or something like that, we can use that to help. So yeah, those are the main meds. We also have, over here we have Prazi, we also have salt, we have baking soda in case we feel like we need to artificially inflate the pH or something like that. We also have like equilibrium and things like that, buckets of that, usually underneath here. We've also got pipes and things, so like I'll probably put that big pipe in for that Pleco so it's got a hide. A lot of those things really matter when it comes to de-stressing from shipping. You want to give them a place to hide and stuff like that. So next up we've got a Fa'aka puffer. This is a special order for a customer. They'll be taking it straight from the bag from us, so we won't be doing the quarantine, so they get a cheaper rate that way because we have basically no risk in it. And so I'll be calling them in a few minutes and letting them know it has arrived. Meanwhile, we will float it for temperature. And so yeah, I'll probably float it like right here. So float it here. And in this tank this is a tank actually of roseline sharks that were growing out. They were super duper small. I ordered them from a farm and they came in much smaller than anticipated. I guess I just didn't realize they were 1 inch. The smallest ones I've ever ordered were 2 inches. I've never seen them in 1 inch, so with me not double checking the size, that was kind of a problem for me. So more female guppies. So with guppies and livebearers in general, typically the big problems you run into are bacterial infections because of the long tails and stuff. So we focus on erythromycin to take care of that. Sometimes you got to use a little bit of salt if the erythromycin isn't getting it. But in general, erythromycin and Icex get it, and then we also deworm them because a lot of times, because they will eat off the bottom so often, they'll pick up any worms and internal tapeworms and stuff like that at a wholesale that might be in the tank. So we deworm everything, but these are some goldfish we're actually curing for a customer that he had them for months, and I don't know, well maybe even years, I don't know, but at some point flukes turned up. Or not flukes, anchorworm, and what he was doing wasn't treating it, so we took over, and we've got the anchorworms cured, and they seem to be doing okay, but now we've got this one having a little bit of a swim bladder issue. Supposedly we were told this one's actually blind, and we have to hand feed it each day, so we've been doing that, but he doesn't always do that. We just fed him, and I think we fed a little bit of flake food today, and he's looking up there for it, but so yeah, we do that sometimes as well. It's not something we try to do actively, but we will try and help people. In general, we don't want to see fish struggle, so you know, we'll do what we can. That's the thing, is, you know, someone has to rent this tank, because obviously you're watching me bring all these fish in, and you know, we would love to be using this tank for something else, but you know, instead it's for healing these goldfish. So you know, it's kind of like a catch-22 of like, yep, we have 4 goldfish here. And then in this like 10-gallon tank, I have like 180 roseline sharks. So the monetary value doesn't make sense. Let's see, we're back to autosynclus. Not very much poop in the bag. And any of you that have been watching my videos on fish shipments will realize I'm always looking for lots of poop. My guess is what happened is not a lot of people ordered during the holidays, and so these sat at the wholesalers longer. And so they haven't had as much food, and so there's not as much waste in the bag. So that just means they're hungrier, and I got to work a little bit harder to make sure they get fed. What do we have here? So these are L333. This is the yellow tiger Plecos, I believe, or yeah, yellow tiger or yellow zebra. I have to double check to make sure, but should be 3 of these guys in here. Relatively small. You know, and you can see here kind of a value thing. So these L333s sell for less than zebras, so they put 3 of them in a bag, whereas like the Zebra Plecos themselves, even though they're both hyphen sister species, the Zebra Plecos got individually bagged, and that's a big difference, you know, when it comes to shipping and stuff like that. That does make a big difference. I think the last thing I've got is Cardinal Tetras, also a very high-risk ick fish and bacterial infection fish, and they get cold, you know. Oh, I guess I got 50 cardinals and 50 ember tetras. The ember tetras, much harder than the cardinals typically when it comes to shipping and getting disease. But I'm going to get these guys floating, and you know, you guys requested you see some of this stuff in the tanks after they're in there, so I'm going to try and do that for you. Right now, my auto water change system is turned on, and so I don't know if we can really see it, but yeah, it's not really showing very well. Yeah, I guess if you look back here, you can see the water coming into the system, so we're all getting water changes right now in this quarantine room, but I'm going to focus on getting these guys warm, and then I'm going to work on getting meds in there, and then I'll bring you guys back around to show you what they look like. So now we've got fish in the tank, so you can see here a little bit of white stuff floating around. That's some of the erythromycin and general cure in the tank. And we also put in ICX. Everything always gets that. People always ask, scaleless fish, is it with invertebrates, stuff like that. So yes, we've got cherry shrimp in here, and we've got Zebra Plecos. They're kind of hiding out back there. Obviously it's focusing on the cherry shrimp, and not so much the Zebra Plecos at the moment, but those guys are there. We have them out on the sales floor because we want to keep a close eye on them. So we don't have any sales price on them or anything like that, but we limit the amount of risk, and we tell people don't buy these, blah, blah, blah. They're not really ready to go, and after a week or so, then we go, yeah, buy them up. So a lot of times what will happen is we'll actually sell them, but they'll stay in this tank, and we just put Post-it notes on here saying they're sold. Kind of the same thing. We also wanted to watch the Zebra, or the L333s. Where did they go in here? Yeah, I can see one way back behind that one. And I don't really want to like disturb them to show you, so you're just going to take my word for it that they're in there. And then we had, one other batch of fish come out on the sales floor. And that's because we basically had an empty tank, and we needed the space anyway. So we have the Super Red Koi Angels out on the floor. They are quarantined out here. You can see the meds from all the bubbles. There's no prices or anything like that. We will tell people they're not ready to go, give us time, let us make sure they don't have any bacterial infections and stuff like that. And you can see, on their fins a little bit like that one, they're roughed up because they've been in a bag and stuff like that. We just want to make sure that they don't go home and have any problems. So everything else that you watched us unbox did go into the quarantine room. We can take a look in there. And we put in the tube here, but this guy is not using yet. He's in the back, and he's beastly and big for sure. I mean, that's a normal, like 7-inch sponge filter or whatever, so he's pretty big. Down low, let's see, what do we have here? In this tank, we've got Ember Tetras. They're all hiding in the back at the moment. And then we've got Cardinal Tetras here. Now these guys just came in, so that's, the batch we unboxed today. This batch over here, this was last week, so that's how we run it. So we've got, this is last week, this is today's, and then this is what we have for sale out on the sales floor. So that's how we keep, healthy fish always available. So these right here that are out for sale are at least 2 weeks in our care, at least. So it's very unlikely, not impossible, but it's very unlikely that they would get any illnesses or stuff like that. So that's how we try and run most things, is that everything's been here for at least a week, and especially on stuff we're going to turn lots of, we try to do many times more than that. In here we've got a clown loach. That was a drop-off, and then these Albino Congo Tetras, we're treating them both at the same time, and that's just to kind of double up on the meds. We've got the stressed out Odessa barbs, and if we take another trip outside here, you can see we haven't run out. We still have them on the sales floor for sale, and that's what they start coloring up. These aren't fully colored up yet, but you can see those nice red colors. But the goal for us is to buy more and get them through quarantine before we run out. So that way we're not in a situation where we're racing to get something out on the floor for sale, because when you find that you're in that situation, it's typically not as good, because you'll make worse decisions. So, that's why we have things like, we have 1,000 zebra danios. We sell a lot of zebra danios because they're only $1, right? So that's why we've got a couple of tanks of them. Here's more rams. So here's the rams that came in today. They look stressed, not that colored up yet. There's my phone ringing, as it always is. You guys are, as I'm more in the story, you guys are starting to hear that more and more. But if I come over here, we've got the rams. We've only got a few left here out on the sales floor themselves. So, we'll be out for probably a few days. Oh, there's a few more back here as well. The problem is we run into the problem where the wholesalers shut down, we can't get fish, and that kind of creates a hiccup in our system where we're trying to guess how many we should buy to get through the extra, week or two without getting fish, that type of thing. So here's our guppies. You can see there's kind of lots of meds in the water. But we'll let them go through their thing there. And these are just more backstock. We've got neon green rasboras, we've got silver tip tetras, balloon platies, we've got extra black phantom tetras. Now these have probably been in our care for over a month. Same with these guys. These guys are at week 3. Might even be week 4, but they've continually had some issues, some fin issues and some skin issues. So we've been, we've got catappa leaves in there. We're trying to heal up all their issues. So sometimes, stuff like this, by the time we get to sell this, we're lucky to break even because we put so much time and money into getting them healthy. And that's, an unfortunate thing sometimes because that means we're doing a whole lot of work and losing money or not making money. That's never a good thing as a business. The zebra loaches are down here in this tank. And we're going to get them some food here in the next day. We don't feed anything on day 1 because usually they're too stressed out to eat. And so yeah, that's pretty much how we do quarantine here. We even quarantine, like these are feeder crabs that we sell so people can feed to their puffers and stuff like that. We've got these guys. Had these guys probably 6 weeks because we haven't sold enough out on the floor. We have probably 30 dwarf chain loaches out on the floor. So yeah, that's a day in the shipment right there. That's one small shipment, what it takes.